record. All right. Okay, having said that, again, we'll come back to the law of treaties. The first part on the law of treaties today is to look into the background. All right, the purpose that I'm not sending you the PowerPoint, there is a PowerPoint, okay, but I'm not sending that because I want you to be familiar with the Vienna Convention, the text itself. All right, bear with me. All right. Law of treaties. When we talk about law of treaties, you have already understood the difference between law of the word treaty and the word convention. In the previous, we have looked into that. Treaty is because it is not organized, drafted, and sent for signature to all of the prospect members. It is not handled by a United Nations body. But when it bears the title, in the title, the word convention, then it is because it is arranged by a specific unit or committee in the United Nations organization. Usually all that stuff, all the drafting, the preparation, the meetings, the all the necessary in preparing the draft until it is sent for signature to the prospect members, all right, all are done by the secretariat, the organ number 2 in United Nations. All right. Okay. So the next one is this Vienna Convention. Law of treaties is the primary source of international law. Having said that, it is a primary source because it falls under 38 clause 1a. So treaty, there are two types, both are primary source as for international law. All right, that is treaty and convention. Right, that's the first thing you got to know. It is a primary source of international law. Okay, right. The next one you got to know is this. All right, there are variety of type of treaty. Number one, treaty that is organized by United Nations. The other one is treaty that is made by the state according to the domestic law of the state. All right, okay. Then the next one is treaty that is created, draft, made, all right, not according to Vienna Convention regulations or requirements, right? Okay, that is called non-Vienna, okay, Convention treaty. There are, all right, again, let me repeat, many types of treaty. Number one, the ancient treaty are called treaty, all right, treaty that is organized by United Nations, bear with it, a title convention. The third one, treaty that is handled by the domestic law of any state, right? Number four, treaty, all right, that is organized by a committee, but that committee is not a committee under United Nations. And the last treaty, it does not follow any requirements. Still, it is an agreement, it is still binding, it is still the same primary source of international law. The last one, always refer to treaty such as TPPA, a treaty such as ICCC, International Criminal Court, and they are all treaty, but it is not organized by United Nations, does not follow the requirements of United Nations or Vienna Convention law of treaty. Okay, right, that's the first part that you need to understand. Okay, then yes, saya Alisa, I know Rosli. Yes.
Madam, sorry madam, I tak dapat yang number 4, treaty,
Okay.
which
Treaty,
is does not follow.
Treaty that does not follow the requirements of United Nations Charter or does not follow Vienna Convention Law of Treaties Convention 1969. They call it non-Vienna Convention Treaty. Tapi it's not bind, it's still binding, it's still primary. Dapat tu?
Okay, dapat madam. Thank you
Dapat
madam.
contoh dia, Alisa?
Dapat contoh dia madam.
That's right. Okay. All right. Now the next one is the nature. All right, the nature of the treaty. Ni semua basic. Please let me interrupt me if you want to ask questions. Yeah. All right. Now treaty pula. Some treaty, because it is domestic, sometimes, all right, only when the international matter, international state, international party goes to that country, then it is bound by that treaty. Right, domestic treaty. Treaty created according to the law of the states. Right, okay. Contohnya, you want to build a jambatan, you want to you want to build a bridge in a state, right? In that state, they have certain types of contract, or there are certain types of format of the agreement to sign between the two parties. This domestic, sometimes it is a contract, sometimes it is a treaty, sometimes it is known as MOA, Memorandum of Understanding. Right, that is the example of domestic. So if there are any problems, right, in creating the treaties with the state, according to the state law, the treaty must follow regulation of the legislation of that state. It does not have to follow Vienna Convention Law of Treaties 1969 Convention. Right? So that one also is a primary source. Okay, boleh? Right. If there is a conflict with these domestic treaties that is signed according to the legislation of the state treaty, all right, of the state legislation, right, the primary place to go for the solving of the dispute is the local law. Go to the local court. Have it, all right, okay, have the dispute entertained, a decision made. If you're not satisfied, then you can go for appeal at the international law. All right, okay, to domestic treaty that created, domestic law that created international treaty. Okay, boleh suka hati, tak payah buat according to the regulation in Vienna. All right. Other than that, all treaty must follow, all right, Vienna Convention requirements as its standard. Okay, boleh? Full stop.
Madam,
Yes, saya, Mas No. Go on.
so the second type of treaties is treaties organized by domestic law of any state, right?
Betul.
So if there is any problem with the domestic treaties, the prime solution that we should cari is according to the state legislation,
Betul.
right?
Go to the
State
state court, state judiciary. First thing you do is, if you have a dispute, find a solution like you said in the legislation itself. But if not satisfied, you go to court, go to the local court dulu.
Madam,
Yeah.
kalau yang this type of treaties, saya tak faham lah, dia between states ke between macam mana, tak faham how
Macam
is
ni.
it done.
Dia macam ni. Yang you perlu nak faham domestic law, domestic treaties, is that the rules that govern the treaty is the state legislation. Will that make it easier?
Oh, Madam kata contohnya macam England ada law regarding birds and other country ikut, so the regulation ikut England punya regulation, right?
Ya, boleh. Macam Malaysia, okay, Malaysia katalah nak buat treaty dengan Singapura. Tapi it's not because macam ni, it's on a specific, katalah daripada Malaysia to sign a treaty with Singapore to supply vegetables to Singapore. Alright, and vegetables are represented by the states. States are, siapa orang dia? The farmers. Right, so it is a treaty signed by Malaysia, tapi right, with the farmers is the main committee dia. Sign dengan Singapore, apa benda, traders. Right, and pokok datang daripada mana? The sayur tu datang daripada state negeri Johor. Right, if they have a problem with not enough supply as promised, then they will then have the matter go to the court in Malaysia. Alright, boleh go to the court in Johor, boleh go to the court because dekat Malaysia the ruling is that kalau international matters, domestic matter kata apa, only handled by the states. Only handled by the federal. Jadi tapi boleh pergi ke court in Johor. But siapa yang akan jadi organizer dia? Negeri Malaysia. Siapa dia? Federal. Matter dia with regards to vegetable. So yang macam ni dia panggil domestic treaty. Remember, Malaysia supply air to Singapore. Remember this one, water supply. All right, Malaysia have an agreement since we were Tanah Melayu and since Singapore was not an independent state, we have that agreement and the agreement continues. All right, okay, so we are going to continue supplying water to Singapore. All right, this is what? This is not a treaty signed according to the rules under Vienna. This is a treaty signed according to the rules that was made before, that was made in Malaysia. All right, that's what I mean by the domestic law. Jadi certain trade that you are going to learn today, how Vienna said you must have a treaty. How Vienna, all right, provide procedure to create treaty. It's not always the main ruling of making treaties between one state to another state. Siapa boleh create other procedure? Right, the state can. The other organizer can. The private independent people can. But all this, the point that you want to have in your head is that, all right, the law of treaty, doesn't matter who is the organizer, it still become the primary source of international law. You can still refer to it as the source of law in solving the conflict or the dispute.
Madam,
Yes, I am. Go
I
on.
have a question. Why we cannot refer to Singapore court in order to settle the dispute?
Right. Kenapa tak nak bawa ke Singapore? Okay, what is the boleh? Boleh? Tapi macam ni. Because the treaty organizer is Malaysia. Alright. What will be the problem? The problem, kalau Malaysia have a problem with Singapore, okay lah. Kalau saya tak sebut Singapore tadi, alright, you kata tak boleh. Alright, boleh. Cuma, who will then be interpreting the law? The law was made by the domestic states of Malaysia. Jadi the law would be best in the court of Malaysia.
Okay, understand, Madam.
Betul.
Madam,
Yeah.
I have another question. What
Yeah.
is actually the difference between treaty and also contract, Madam?
Okay, contract, yes, contract dia privy. 2 orang, 3 orang, orang bernama sahaja yang involved in a contract. Orang yang dinamakan sahaja as parties. That is what it means by contract. The parties are privy. P-R-I-V-Y. Only those people who are named. But treaty, the parties are not privy. The party can be the party that is signing, the party that have reservation, the party that is affected by the entry into force of the treaty. Nanti,
Madam,
ya.
maksudnya kalau macam example for the farmers just now, so maksudnya all the farmers tu must sign the treaty ke ataupun representative of the farmer tu yang akan sign the treaty?
Okay, depend on who the treaty was offered to. Kalau
Oh,
kita domestic law, dia tak offer pada other people, itu yang saya kata, some contract amount to treaty. But not all contract are treaty. Some contract amount to treaty when it is in the nature of memorandum of agreement. MOA is treaty. Tapi kalau kontrak tu between APEC in Singapore dengan Rohani the farmer in Malaysia, alright, kerajaan Malaysia is the one that handles the documentation, alright. So the treaty is between the farmer represented by Rohani, alright, ramai farmer, I am the leader, alright, and the APEC in Singapore. Or APEC in Singapore only sign a treaty with one single farmer, right? But since it is a cross-border supply of vegetables to Singapore, all right, then it cannot be done by the states. It must be interference. It must be under the purview of the federal. Jadi although parti dia dua, tapi it's not a contract. It's still a treaty. Alright, beza dia apa?
understand.
Beza dia dekat title, dekat objektif. Ya. Yeah. Apa dia Alisa?
Thank you, madam.
Tak dengar.
I say I understand. Thank you, madam.
Okay, thank you. Alright, let me go through again. Right. Now, you have to be very careful, but you have to know that the treaty, there are also a challenge on this law of treaty by America. In America, their view, and they are right to do this, they are independent, kan? In America, treaties are all authoritative guidelines. America, treaty are only authoritative guidelines, the relationship between the states that signs it dengan America, or the whoever that signs it. As well, treaty is only guideline. What does it mean, treaty is only guideline? All right, we have to worry about this because once a treaty is just a guideline, the treaty can be disputed by American Act. They are the legislation there. In America, they have this apa benda tu executive treaty dia. Kejap dia ada dia punya law. Dia panggil, alright. In America, they have this law. They have the federal law that says the treaty legislation bunyi macam domestic law tadi kan, tapi this is treaty legislation, legislation with regards to the authenticity of treaty. If you do not follow the condition in the legislation, then it cannot be binding USA. And America can have a provision anyhow they like, even to the exception to the objective, and it's still not binding. The treaty that they are the one that created it, they are the one that offer to people to sign it, they can protect themselves. Certain things are protected from the subject of treaty in America. Alright, jadi apa dia yang certain things tu? One of the thing is military of America is not subjected to any form of agreement in a treaty. Jadi kalau you sign the ICCC, International Criminal Court, right? Remember the one that was so busy talking, discussed in the newspaper and TV, ICCC, International Criminal Court, right? Okay, the treaty says, right, they would punish all head of states or any member of military, even though the head of state who is a head of military, but they will not punish military from USA. Right, registered military from USA. Army dia tak boleh being punished by others. Right, the army of USA can only be punished by USA law only. Itu ada dekat dalam dia punya local legislation, right, federal legislation, then it's binding. Just remember that saja. In America, certain subject, one of the example, if they are military, it's not subjected as an item or any agreement in a treaty. It's not a subject matter in a treaty. Itu yang perlu tahu, itu that you have to be careful of in the future. Nanti, alright, you will learn if once you work in that department, what are the American legislation on that. That's the reason why I said in America, treaty is only authoritative guide. Treaty is not binding. So, do they accept Vienna Convention? Yes, they do. Certain things, all right, okay, not only certain, it's a subject matter. The procedure and all, they respected it according to the Vienna Convention. But when it comes to subject matter of America, certain things is privileged to them alone, right? And these law are good. All right, these law are good because it's their subject matter. All right, okay, when is this act come into, all right, okay, the act come into existence after the case of in 1972 to 78, there are 10 Navy officers from the Navy, from the naval ship, all right, that was prosecuted in Tokyo for raping schoolgirls, right? They were very angry after that, okay, that they don't like their military to be prosecuted overseas, especially military. So they have that law, right? And that law is binding. That law have been around for quite some time. All right. So as another country, we respect that law. So we have to be very careful to know the subject until later. Yeah. All right. Okay. That is considered as non-Vienna example of treaty. Non-Vienna convention. Non-Vienna convention treaty. Okay.